Hey everybody, welcome to the Herd Fit Podcast with Dr. Sam Rhee and myself, Coach David Syvertsen. This podcast is aimed at helping anyone and everyone looking to enhance their healthy lifestyle through fitness, nutrition, and most importantly, mindset. All right, welcome back to the Herd Fit Podcast. I'm Coach David Syvertsen here with Dr. Sam Rhee and our special guest, Adam Ramsden, for another episode as he tries to make his way back up the power rankings of guests of the Herd Fit Podcast. We have a topic that's called workout analytics, and having Adam on a podcast, anything with analytical is always a good idea. And he drew up this kind of topic himself, and I'll kind of probably maybe just guide the conversation, but we're going to get a lot of his thoughts and his opinions on how this can help you as a CrossFitter. And this gets pretty detailed. And I've always said everyone's progress, especially the further you get into CrossFit, will be found in the small details that you don't think matter, the things that you're just overlooking. And we'll get into that more specifically. But Adam, before we go into topic number one, just what's your general feel for why you think this is going to help people out?
Yeah, so this stemmed from the episode of the Herd Fit Podcast with Chris Henshaw, so I feel bad because I gave extra views to that, like knocking myself down, which is a problem. But a couple of things that he said really stuck with me. One of the things he said was that he's a numbers guy, so immediately I'm like, okay, I'm in. Let me put all my focus into this. But then he said something interesting about like thinking about how are you analyzing what you're doing in the gym and outside of the gym. And he said, we all have these Garmin's and Apple Watches and stuff like that, and we're getting so much data. And what are we actually doing with that data? Are we checking like just our heart rate level, or how much did I sleep last night? How much REM sleep did I get last night? Or are we using all the data that we have to really make the most of what we're doing in and out of the gym on a daily basis? So I just thought of from very macro level of I don't want to spend a lot of time thinking about what I'm doing post-workout or what I did in a certain workout, all the way down to the people I know that video themselves every day and really want to get into that analysis. Like, what do the numbers tell us?
Yeah.
I think is something that we can look at.
Awesome. Yeah, and this is a very, I should say, motivated time of year for CrossFitters in general. I've always found that. I mean, year number 10 of this, and I always feel motivated this time of year, whether you're basically done with the open, those that made quarterfinals, you're done with that. We have a lot of people locally competing right now, and you always get a lot of information at those kind of things, whether it's the open, the quarterfinal, the local comps of, all right, I did this, now I'm motivated to work on this. And it's widespread this time of year. So just assessing your strengths and weaknesses on a macro level, work capacity, all right? And you wrote under giving up / during workouts, pacing, and you have an example that you want to give us.
Yeah, so we're always looking to expand workout capacity.
Yes.
So, a lot of times, especially at this time of the year when we're motivated, there's certain things that we can do. So I had a class a couple months ago where it ended, there was rowing and burpees, and I had somebody in the class, there was the only person in class. And so I had really paying attention to the workout, and I told this athlete right before the last round of rowing burpees, I was like, you can finish under a certain time on the clock, but you have to really, really hammer out those burpees. He did, rowed his heart out, did the burpees as fast as he could, and immediately afterwards said, I didn't think I could do that. Like, that's amazing. And I said, yeah. So now when you see 12 burpees at the end of a workout, see if you can hammer through those, right? Like, try to expand that work capacity, because you'd be surprised at what you can do, especially at the end of a workout. And just thinking about that and looking back at that workout, I think has propelled that athlete a little bit to say, oh, I can do a lot more than I thought.
Yeah, that's a great point. Sam, any thoughts there?
This is such a hard topic, but an intriguing topic, because I think we've all dabbled in it a little bit.
Yep.
I used to enter my data into Beyond the Whiteboard.
Yep.
And it would give you some numbers and some capabilities on different areas. And it's like, what does that really mean for me? I wear a Whoop. I look at the data. I'm like, what does that really mean for me? I see people at the office, and they're like, oh, I completed all my rings on my Apple Watch. And I was like, what the hell are your, what rings are you completing? And like Henshaw said, we have all this data. What are we doing with it? How are we improving ourselves? I'm struggling with it on a daily basis.
It's overwhelming because it's just a lot of information. So like, I think you have to first look into what are you trying to do? Like that's always going to be step one, right? Like what's the actual goal here? We just got done doing a pretty like serious podcast on dopamine and stuff. And Sam said it like, hey, what about the people that just want to come and have fun? Are they the ones that need to be mindful of how fast it took them to do 12 burpees at the end of the workout? It depends, because it comes down to the individual. If the individual is saying like, hey, I kind of want to up my game a little bit, or like, hey, why am I not making progress anymore? Like, why do I feel like I'm going backwards? I think if those are thoughts start creeping into your head, this is the kind of thing that you need to start doing. And we'll dive into it with Adam in terms of just like taking information from your workouts that's objective, tangible information. You might have to write it down, record it somewhere, and then go from there. Adam, when you write, so macro level was work capacity, giving up in workouts. Micro level, you wrote technique for individual movements. Was that just a simple like, hey, big picture, now we need to get a little bit more specific?
Yeah,
what are your thoughts?
I immediately thought of what are the different ways that people can start to analyze their individual workouts, because we talk so much about pacing, and then there's my wife that says, well, why would you? So if you start to look at these things and really start to break down the individual movements and how you're moving and when does your form start to break down, we're always talking about that. It's going to eventually break down as we increase intensity. So that's one thing we can definitely look at, as if you are somebody that videos your workouts, which I think is a fantastic idea. Mm-hmm. You don't have to put it on Instagram. We'll get more into it later on. And that's for people that want to make those gains, that are looking for, okay, how can I make my cleans just a little bit better?
Yep.
You know, how can I feel a little bit better when I get to rep 12 of a hang power clean as opposed to rep 6? Mm-hmm. So
the most basic thing someone can do is talk to a coach. Like, and that's, I think that sometimes gets overlooked, what the role of a coach is at Bison, a gym like Bison. It's just big classes, be on time, get this done. All right, we got to go 3, 2, 1, go. There's certain classes it's easier than others. A class with one person as a class of 22 people is just different. It's a different vibe, different ability to learn. But what are some of the other basic things an athlete can do to try to get this ship going in that right direction?
Yeah, I think based on the movements in the workout, if there's something that you see that you're not sure about as an athlete, ask the coach to watch you on that individual movement and say, listen, I'm trying to improve my handstand push-ups. Like, there's something just not, I struggle with strict handstand push-ups, still do. And so there was one class, I said, Liz, listen, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I feel like I should be better at these just with the strength that I have. I can string together 12 regular kipping handstand push-ups. Why can't I do one strict handstand push-up? What's going on? So I think the struggle with the athlete there is, when do you have that conversation? When can you stop the coach? Like, because we're doing the intro and then we're getting into the warm-up, and then before it's the workout and everybody's, got something to do. Like, when's the best time to have that conversation if there's something you want the coach to look at? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I do that a lot, or I used to, maybe a little less now, and now I just suffer and don't want anyone to look at me. But I think it does two things. If you ask a coach to evaluate you for something, one, it puts their eyes on you, and two, it shows that you are motivated and you really care about your performance for whatever reason. And if you're a recreational athlete, maybe it's just like you said, not to die after every workout and to feel like you're completing it in a better fashion, which I think for a lot of people, that's a very reasonable goal. They're like, why do I have to feel like I'm dying? Like, I want to feel like I'm doing better in these workouts. And some of these high skill movements require a long period of time with different coaches looking at you. I remember there's some movements where, like ring muscle ups, I had to pull a little of you, a little of Dave, a little of Ash, and then watching Liz to sort of get feeling. And so you should really solicit a lot of different people to help you with things.
Yeah, and to build off of Adam's question, like, when do you ask a coach? Because it's tough. Like, I think I had a class yesterday, Saturday. I had people, we don't recommend this. It was an accident. A drop-in invited friends to come work out that had never seen a CrossFit before. So we had to change the workout. And you're trying to help X, Y, and Z with the rope climbs, but you're also trying to help the person in the back not die. Like, you're literally teaching them how to do a push-up. And so when is the best time to ask a coach, hey, can you watch my rope climbs today? I'm trying to get up there in 3 pulls. It takes me 5. What can I do, right? And so I think it's gonna change class to class. Don't really have an answer. But I also think that, and a lot of, especially full-time CrossFit coaches, if you look at the amount of hours that we coach in a week, it's like, oh man, like, you only work 20 hours this week. Well, part of it is the amount that you're getting contacted throughout the day. But I also think as a CrossFit coach, that needs to be part of the job. And that's what makes it tough in some regard. There are no days off thing, right? There are lighter days than others. But that is something that I would, if I was an athlete and I was struggling to find that moment in class to ask a coach to help me, I would reach out. And that is, if a CrossFit coach out there disagrees with you, like, I'm going to stand pretty strong there that part of your job is outside the gym. And it's not only during classes.
And coaching 4 classes a week for 5 days a week would kick anybody's ass.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And it's like being a teacher, right? Like, I think teachers like that, they're on, you're on like that full, like I had a normal job where I was a broker and I would go hours without having to do it that much. I'd be at work, but I wasn't really working, where like teachers, coaches, like you're on that full period. But I also think that outside, and this is more CrossFit than teachers, that you should be ready to get contacted Thursday night at 8:45 p.m. Someone wants help with their toes to bar. And like, I think that's now, if you're an athlete that's going to do that, make sure you're mindful that you might not get the answer right away. Don't be like, hey, my class starts in 5 minutes. What can I do? But, being mindful about, hey, I need some help here and I can't get it in class because I go to big classes, or, hey, I just want a different perspective. Think ahead of the time and be like, hey, hopefully in the next day or two, I can get an answer back on just some thoughts. And that's happened. I can't count how many times it's happened over the years. And that's a big part of our job as coaches.
Yeah, and just in individual times, I would say during class, there's always that little in-between time class. If you're there a couple minutes early, and we finish the workout or our class usually 5-10 minutes early, just leave a little bit of cool down time. Right. So if you're there early, or we usually give 3 or 4 minutes, like right before the workout starts, go to the bathroom, get drinks, do whatever you got to do, fill out a whiteboard. I think those are times where you could pick out, just say, okay,
real quick,
let me go up to the coach and just say, hey, keep an eye on my thrusters today. Just because
a lot of times it's not a full blown conversation. Right. It could be like, why does my wrist hurt on thrusters? Like, we could look at your front rack real quick, or just like, hey, can you watch me on my kipping? Why can't I get my muscle up? Yep. Another thing you have written down here is just discussing goals and objectives. We talk about this all the time. It's really important if you want to make progress, if you feel like you're at a lull, that there's other people that know what your goals and objectives are. You got to vocalize those. Yeah.
And you always say, like, it's the question of, well, what if I don't make my goal? And I'm going to feel bad that I told somebody now and I didn't get there. So, yeah, but I think that's really important.
Check the ego. That's my answer to that. I think that's the answer to so many issues that people struggle with. It's just check the ego at the door.
Yeah, we've all been there. We know what it's like to try to get something in CrossFit. It takes a long time.
And we'll be there again.
Yeah, and it's very circuitous sometimes too. Yep. Sometimes you just need to build up other skills in order to get to that skill. Yeah. And you do that a lot in your next level training is, okay, you want to get a bar muscle up. You're not just practicing bar muscle ups or bar muscle up like movements, you're practicing GHDs to get that speed and strength.
Yes, the amount of people I have doing GHDs right now is through the roof.
I love GHDs because that is what helped me get my muscle ups. But it takes a long time.
It does.
No one here is going to say, oh, well, you didn't get it in like a month or 3 months or 6 months. Yeah. It took you a year or 2 years.
I get very nervous when people have timelines on goals. I really do. Yeah. Like whenever someone's like, I need this by this, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, fuck. It's like, it's a dangerous game to play.
Yeah, I have a goal of handstand walking, and I haven't touched it in a while, a really long time, but I'll come back to it. Yeah. It's still a goal. Yep. I've still set it, and maybe someday I'll get it.
And nobody's going to say, Sam, I noticed you haven't been working on your handstand walking lately. I'm like, what are you doing?
Well, maybe Dave. Quarterfinals are coming up again soon.
So this is one that stood out to me on your outline, is be willing to be stopped in a workout to adjust your movement pattern. That takes a lot of checking the ego at the door, because if you're someone that's really pursuing a score, I want to beat this person, or I want to not get lapped by this person, right? If you have to stop mid-workout, I could tell I've done this before. I've stopped someone and it's almost like, dude, what are you doing? Thoughts on that, Adam?
Yeah, we see it a lot mid-workout, and it's a difficult thing for us to do as coaches. As long as somebody's safe in class, I'm going to let them push the intensity if they want to. But I think you need to be willing as an athlete to say, all right, if coach sees something that could improve the movement or make me more safe, then I need to be willing to stop if I need to in the middle of the workout and listen to that coach. Right. I'm not expecting anybody to be like, oh, okay, let me stop what I'm doing, make sure I'm really take notes. Like, if you want to get back to your workout, that's fine. Right. But there's something that the coach is seeing that could either help you in the future, maybe not in that workout, or is going to be something that they're seeing a form breakdown and it could be a safety issue.
Yeah. There are a lot of times, and I've been in classes where athletes will do a heavy clean, like you'll program us, and they think they can do it, but it's in front, or there's a lot of stuff in front of it. So by the time they get it, their form is starting to break down, and they're just leaning, and they're not, pushing back with their hips, and I know when these things will happen, because if Dave is coaching, he'll really emphasize, like, when you get tired, like, make sure you get your hips back, like, don't lean forward, don't try to do that, and it still happens. It's really hard for coaches to say stop.
Right.
I don't think I would actually at this point really be able to, unless I felt like
it's dangerous.
It was a danger.
Right. There's a lot of times as a coach where I'm just like, all right, that's not good, but like, I'll address it after. And there's certain workouts I will not stop someone. If it's a workout that really means something, it's a qualifier, it's an open workout. Yep. Unless, again, like I remember remember the squat snatch open workout?
Yeah.
Like there were a couple of people I was like, all right, we're done. You can't do it. This is not right. But I can count on one hand how many times I've done that in the open, like stop someone. And so like an experienced coach kind of knows when to pick and choose those spots. And in most cases, it's like, I'll address it after.
And hopefully if you're an experienced coach who knows your athletes, when they're setting up, you could be like, before it happens, be like, let's and the good athletes really know, like fun of Aaron and his overhead squats, but he has no ego.
No, PVC pipe.
Yeah, he's so good at figuring out what his capabilities are. Of course, he'll smoke everything else.
And I'll tell you what, dude, like that dude, I mean, it's my brother, but he's getting better, like progressively. Like I just saw the other day, he's like banging out RX handstand push-ups. Like I didn't think that day would ever come. But again, he's not someone that puts a timeline on things, and he has no ego when he comes in here, and like he still crushes some workouts. Like every week, there's some workouts you're just like, dude, are you serious? And it's just a good example. So he would have no issue if either one of us came up to him mid-workout. I'm like, yo, we got to stop this real quick. Even though I know you're trying to crush this workout, let's fix this so that you don't get hurt. And he'd be all about it.
And you can ask yourself, like, if I just finished a set of wall balls and coach came up to me and said, you know what, like there's something you could do a little bit better, or you weren't really, were those really reps? Like, would you be willing to do those reps again? If you're looking, and if you're not looking on a micro level of that workout, if you're looking at long-term success and improvement, you should be willing to do those reps over again if they weren't good enough.
Absolutely. So the next, so that was those are like the basic stages of this, right? The next level kind of stages are, we talked about filming your workouts. We can go into that again if you want, but also what are you doing outside the gym and how's that impacting what happens inside? That's going to be like, we could talk about the analytics that your watches tell you with like your resting heart rate, how much you're sleeping. What kind of habits can you do with that information that will impact you what you do here?
Yeah. So I think it's an odd thing to start filming yourself working out because it seems like it's very egotistical and, I just want to see myself power clean. But you will see things that you won't believe when you start to film your workout. It's like, is my chest touching the ground on those burpees? On the video? No, it's not.
Right.
Like it's happened to me since I started being more consistent with filming more workouts where I'm like, ooh, I moved really well in that workout, and then I look at the video and I'm like, ooh, no, you did not.
Right.
Like we need to take it back a little bit.
Right.
So I don't know.
I mean, we have some people who post a workout all the time.
Right.
And listen, if you want to express yourself and post on social media, that's fine. The good thing about that is they're generally not posting crappy movement.
The low lights.
Right. And most of the people that I know who post regularly move pretty well. And I will never fault them for posting because I was one of those people for a real long time. I got a little dopamine hit from posting.
Yep.
And I was fine with it. Now that's not so much my motivation to do things, but I will never say no to someone videoing themselves and or posting it. Ideally, if you just want to look at it yourself, super helpful. And when I was focusing a lot on Oli, I would send those to you or to Dallas and get your thoughts on it, send them to others. You can really get a lot of feedback that you won't get from your own body kinesthetics during the workout.
And I even think even beyond the movement sometimes of taping an actual workout this has always been eye-opening to me is how long you rest. Like that's always been something that I've always been trying to like get 1% better on this workout or 2% better, like try to get 4 more reps here, whatever. And that's one thing that I've always learned that, if you start, I mean, this takes a little bit more detail, but this is the next level part of Adam's outline here. is you start timing how long each one of your rests are. And I've done this so many times, like as recent as the quarterfinals with that pistol workout. It's like, hey, if I just went 3 or 4 seconds less on all 3 of these parts, it improves my time by this much. And I really need as many points as I can get. And you don't know how much you have no idea in the middle of a workout how much you're resting until you watch it. And I think that can also open up your eyes to something that's probably going to be coming up next, is the complex part of this is starting to really break down reps per minute, how your work rest ratios, like what can you handle? A lot of people think they can handle 1-to-1 work rest ratio, and they can't. Like a lot of people cannot go hard for 30, rest for 30 without significantly slowing down after, 7, 8, 9 minutes. And everyone's like, oh, dude, if you give me that much rest, I can bang it out. I'm like, no, usually you actually rest more than you do work in most of your workouts. That's why we just recently did that row run workout previously this week with a partner, run hard, row easy. And I was like, in my class, I'm like, when's the last time you guys have done 12 minutes? We're talking to CrossFitters here, 12 minutes of constant movement and workout. Like, oh, I do it all the time. I did AMRAP 12 the other day. I'm like, you rested about 60% of that workout. You just don't realize it because you're hurting. And I think that's something that video can really do that. To me, it's not just about movement. It could be how long you're resting, how long you're working.
The other thing I almost forgot was about body language. I did not realize how crappy my body language has been. And when I video myself and I'm like, ugh, and I was just, put
that on Instagram for us.
Right. Like really poor body language. And I think if you really care about yourself as an athlete, it's not about, fronting or looking good for people. It's about your body language does reflect your performance as an athlete.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one of the things I've needed to clean up, and I continue to work on all the time, is how I'm thinking is reflected on my outside, and my outside is reflected on the inside.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're talking about the timing. And so like a specific example of what happened was we had a workout probably like a month or 2 ago that was an ascending rep ladder, ring muscle ups, and air squats.
Yep.
And ring muscle ups is something me, Ashley, and Liz have been working on for a long time.
Yeah.
Long time.
Putting a lot of work into it. So, yeah. And so this is something that I focused on, and I said, okay, what can the analytics tell us about this workout? So we filmed the workout, and I had to sit there with a stopwatch and say, okay, what's the rest time we're taking in between muscle ups, right? And Ashley had 15 seconds, 15 seconds, 15 seconds, 16 seconds, 18 seconds, 31 seconds one time, right? Back to 15 seconds, back to 13 seconds, 9 seconds, 28 seconds, right? There were 3 instances where she rested almost double than she needed to for the rest of the reps. And after those long rests, she would go back to her normal rest. So I said, if we took those down and we said, okay, we're only resting 15 seconds every single rep, she would have saved herself 45 seconds in the workout.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, you get one more muscle up and get into those air squats, and that's 30 reps at the end of a workout. Right. Maybe that doesn't matter on a Friday workout, but what if that was an open workout?
I was going to say, it would open. Like, we hear that kind of talk all the time in the open. It's like, oh man, if I just got like more, 3 more reps, I would have gotten to that next part, and my ranking would have went up, 280 spots.
Yep.
So why not practice it during your daily WOD? Or at least think about it.
Have to.
Yeah.
I would say you have to.
Because you can't suddenly just figure that out before the open. You have to be thinking and be mindful of that all the time.
Yeah,
And once you say, okay, here's going to be my 15-second rest, the more you do that, the more you think about or you feel how long 15 seconds is, right? Because all of a sudden we're saying, oh, that was about a 15-second rest. You go back to the video, it was 35 seconds.
Right.
And you're like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah. I mean, if I had to, I would never do this. I think it would just be too complicated for the gym. But if I was like going to if I really wanted to get that specific programming workouts, everything would be clock-based. Just for like maybe 3-4 days a week. Like I'm working with Coda on some stuff right now, reps per minute, and everything's going to be like, rest 10 seconds, 15 wall balls, rest 10 seconds, 15 burpees, rest 10, and it has to be that specific, not for the sake that I want him to get the best time. It trains your body to actually feel, what does 10 seconds feel like when you're really tired?
And we talk about this all the time of like, don't go out too hot, right? Don't, you have to find your maintenance pace on bar facing burpees. Well, what does that mean? If you go back to the Hinshaw episode, he was talking about Laura Horvath's average burpee time. And that's the nitty gritty stuff that isn't exciting to do. But if you're doing 10 burpees, 3.5 second pace, and by the end of the workout, it's a 12-second pace where you're doing those grief burpees where you're laying on the ground. Well, if we found that average burpee time and we were able to sustain that for the entire workout, we'd probably feel better going into the next movement.
Absolutely.
And would be fresher for everything and feel we wouldn't be dead at the end of a workout.
Right. So it wouldn't have been 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 25.
Right.
Like it could have been 4 or 5 the whole time.
The whole time.
Right. Yeah. And that's where the progress is going to be found for a lot of us. You know, I've been doing this. I mean, we have so many people in the gym that have been doing this for over 5 years. Right. Like at some point, it's not going to be like, all right, I'll start eating cleaner and, start taking this more serious. It's going to be down to this like analytical information that, yes, it does require some work, a little bit of journaling. Talk about how important this is, though, for like journaling, spreadsheet, fitness tracking. Is there a fitness tracker, a spreadsheet that you feel like is the best? Is there something that maybe even Bison can do to help people that do want to go down this path of complex information gathering and tracking? If someone says, all right, how do I do this? There's so many movements, so many modalities. What can I do best to track all this?
Okay. So I came up with a spreadsheet that I'm happy to share with anyone, just ask, but it takes the week, it breaks it down. It's more for coaching than anything, but you can adjust it to what you're looking to do. But it has a spot for each day of the week. It has a stimulus box and a class notes box. So every week I look at the workouts, I put them into the spreadsheet, and I look at, okay, what's my perceived intensity? How hard am I looking to go? And for one thing it does is avoid I'm just going to go as hard as I can every single day, because that's not sustainable. And it's kind of like flooring it every time you get in your car. Like you're going to risk injury. You're going to not feel as recovered, and I don't think you're going to perform as well.
Right.
So that gives you like a weekly look. And then as you finish up a workout at night, I'll go in and I'll look back at the video, or if I have the data or the heart rate, where did my heart rate spike in this workout? Was it during a specific movement? How did I feel? Were there parts where I think I rested too long or anything like that? So.
Unfortunately, there isn't any good pre-cooked template or online resource. I think I tried using Beyond the Whiteboard for a while. It's too difficult because you have to enter your workouts into their format, which is a pain in the ass.
Pain in the ass, yeah.
And the analytics I didn't feel were super helpful. I stick to a Google Doc now, which I'm sometimes on, sometimes not, similar to what you have. I feel like for me, the next phase this year is going to be what Dave automatically does in his head all the time. He looks at a workout and goes, all right, 10 burpees over like bar. All right, I can do X number of burpees over bar in X number of seconds. Like, all right, 10 power clean, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I can do this in X number of time. Like every time I see you look at a workout, and probably this is on the athlete side and the programming side, what that workout will take.
Right.
So if everybody just had a list of all their movements, like 10 wall balls, 10 burpees over bar, 10, like a reasonable pace for them, they could themselves look at a workout and say, I bet I can look at my movements, look at what it is. I could probably finish this in X.
Right.
And then use that for the workout.
Right.
And that will be my goal this year, is to be able to look at a workout, have a list of movements, have a list of times. And the next level athletes, you sort of have this, like max number of wall balls.
Right.
Blah, blah, like
your max unbroken sets, then your max rep in 3 minutes. Right.
So if you're a next level athlete, you probably can already figure this stuff out.
Some of it, yeah.
But for everyone else, you can just keep populating those numbers as you go through the workouts.
So I can say this, that one thing we're going to do, this is going to be after Hero Week. I didn't want to do before Hero Week, that we're going to start doing 100 reps for time for a lot of different movements. Like that's just going to be the WOD. Like on the simple days, like we'll do 2 of the movements in one day. And I think that's going to be something, A, good workout. All right, B, it's going to create how many reps per minute can you sustain. And if you want to get deep, like we get pretty deep with this stuff with ourselves, trying to get better, right? Is you can start, talking about rate of fatigue, which we'll probably have to do a podcast on that at some point. Rate of fatigue, like that's a big deal, right? Like the people that get to 50 reps first are not necessarily the people that will get to 100 reps first, right? There's a rate of fatigue that you have to think about. But I think just kind of like taking a step back and looking at this from someone that's like your normal CrossFitter, like what can you do to help yourself get better? It's going to be record a lot of this information. It could be a Google Doc. Like maybe we can all, combine our brains a little bit and come up with something that could help out the gym. You could use it if you want. If not, no big deal. We'll always take feedback on that. If anyone wants, us to kind of maybe start producing that, or Adam's got something that he said he's willing to share. It's something that it comes back to the focal point. You're going to have to record stuff and not just only use memory, right? Like, yes, Sam's like, oh, Dave can look at a workout and be like, well, been doing this professionally as a coach for a decade now, but I tick differently because I've always said I'm not the most blessed athlete in competition form. I can look at a group of competitors and be like, not stronger than any of these guys, not faster. So the only way I can win or try to win would be I need to get the most out of every little thing I can. And a lot of it is your rate of movement, how much you're doing per minute. So I've thought about that for a decade now. And I still get it wrong sometimes. There's a lot of factors. You can't always look at a workout and be like, I'm going to get this time because I can do this, this, and this. Like there's other factors that obviously impact your performance. So,
and I think that if you can make a connection like in the gym, I think the easiest movement to keep track of with intensity and stuff like that is rowing, because you have a number to put next to it, right? Yeah. You know exactly what your rowing pace is. Like, okay, how did I feel at this 2-minute pace? How do I feel at the 150 pace? How do I feel at the 130 pace? What's my max? We did a workout a couple weeks ago where you were looking for 15 seconds max. What can I get that up to?
Yeah, what's your
and how is that sustainable for 30 seconds? Is it sustainable for 45 seconds? And just putting some anecdotal evidence for how you feel based on to those numbers.
And even for a recreational athlete, I know people are like, I just want to come in and work out. This will help you enjoy your recreational experience tremendously.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so we'll conclude this, guys, now. I hope that you guys got something out of that. There's a lot of information every single time you come to this gym that if you want to, you can take it in, and it's going to help you down the road. All right, thanks, guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Herd Fit podcast. Be on the lookout for next week's episode.